What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again as it's thundering and lightning outside. It does not get more metal than that. And we got Kristian of Sorcerer on the phone. Thank you for your time today, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yep. It's so good to have you here. The newest album is Lamenting of the Innocent, which is scheduled to come out later in the spring out on Metal Blade Records. You just want to talk about like how the making of this record was, the recording, songwriting, all that fun stuff?
Sure. We started writing January 1st, pretty much, 2019. We finished... we still had some gigs on the Fire King tour in Cycle, but we started writing, and it took pretty much a whole full year to write and record the album. Mm-hmm. We did some mixing and then February of this year, but pretty much a year, I would say. Mm-hmm. It was, we have a way working where the instrumentalists sort of, we write on our own, and then we send stuff to our vocalist who then adds vocal melodies and changes arrangements, and then it's a back and forth. I mean, we always have the intention of actually meeting up and rehearsing the songs, but we never do. So it's it's all done. We meet up and stuff and talk, but we don't really rehearse the songs before. We just work it out in the computer, and then we have to learn them when we go out to play live.
Mm-hmm. Do you consider this just picking up where you left off after the crowning of the Fire King, or do you think that this is in a way kind of like a new start for Sorcerer in a way?
I would say it's a progression. I would say it's definitely growing out of the Fire King. We started with the Fire King as sort of, well, I wouldn't say blueprint, but it was the foundation, and we wanted to expand because we were very happy with that record, and then we wanted to expand the sound out, in every direction. We wanted to make the mellower parts mellower. We wanted to make the heavier parts heavier, and faster parts even faster, and the slower parts slower. So we wanted to expand in every direction, and I think we kind of succeeded. I think it's got some really, slow moments for us and really soft stuff, and Hammer Witches, the first thing is probably one of the faster songs we've written. So it's, I would say we did what we set out to do, I would say.
Mm-hmm. That led me into my next question. The Hammer of Witches, which is one of the first singles off this album, is this maybe like a clear representation of what the whole album is going to sound like, or is this record like maybe more experimental or more diverse in a way?
I would say it's definitely not very telling of the album. It's the fastest song on the album. It happens to be the first song on the album. I think it wasn't my first choice for a single, but then pretty much the rest of the guys said, "Oh, this is definitely the single. We have to release this first." And I was like, "Well, it's not really telling of the album. It's not representative of the sound, because the sound is, it's a bit slower, we're known for playing a bit slow, so it's a bit slower than that, but still, it's a good, catchy song, so I guess sort of it makes sense as a single as well,
Okay, so that's really good. Most of the time when a band puts out their first single, they always usually put out like the most radio-friendly one or whatever, but you put out your most aggressive way to kind of stand out a little bit more.
I would say so, yeah. There's definitely more mellow moments on the album, for sure.
Mm-hmm. One thing I was curious about is when was there maybe kind of like a preconceived idea on how you wanted the entirety of this album to sound like, or was there kind of like improvising involved and things kind of happened fairly organically?
Well, you mean writing-wise, or?
Yeah, writing-wise.
We just start writing. Of course, we go through stuff we've ideas we've discarded maybe before and go through them and see if we can use something. But it's all, we just write, start writing stuff from the beginning, and as soon as we have maybe 10, 12 songs, then it feels okay. We need to stop now and really concentrate on these. And we felt like the songs we had sort of made a whole cohesive unity. You don't want to have too many slow songs or too many fast songs or too many. You want to have some sort of diversity, and I think we managed with that, I think. But it's nerve-wracking, to release a new album, because the last one was pretty. We got really good reviews from it, and it was well received in most places. So it's always nervous. We're always nervous about what are people going to think. It's going to hate it, or I'm sure some people are going to think it's too happy, too poppy sounding or whatever. But that's the way it is. We're not really unhappy people. We're maybe right now in quarantine, but not otherwise.
Yeah, that's gotta suck, right? Because you finished the album and now you're in quarantine. I know a lot of people are using this time to write more, but you already have an album done.
Yeah, we like to tour now, but unfortunately that's not an option. So.
Yeah. Now, when you look at the entirety of the Sorcerer catalog, is it almost kind of like representative of maybe like who you and the rest of the band were at that particular time in a way?
I think I think you're right. I think every record is a snapshot of that particular time. I mean, I wasn't in the band back in 1995, but I think it's each of the records. I mean, the ones I've been involved in. I mean, Shadow, they're in the shadow of the inverted cross. Like that's difficult to say. And the Fire King in this one, it's all a snapshot of this time. And the next one, who knows what it's going to sound like, And I think that's true for every band. Every band. And it also depends on, what you're listening to at that particular point in time, your influences. Maybe you have some new influences, maybe some band members left. For us, we have a new bass player and we have a new drummer. So, I mean, they're influencing the sound as well. So that's a change.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. When you came into Sorcerer, were you like looking at the earlier work and being kind of like, this is how I'm supposed to play? Or were you allowed to kind of like bring your own mix into the band?
Yeah, I mean, when I came in when they did the rebirth in 2010. When we were Anders, the singer, and Johnny, the bass player, they were contacted by Oliver at Hammer of Doom and said like, "Hey, you guys want to reform Sorcerer and do a gig here?" And then they couldn't really find the rest of the musicians, or they didn't know what they were doing. So they asked me, and we asked around and put the rest of the guys together. And I think the first five, maybe, let's see, first 2 years, we didn't even think about recording, we would just did a couple of gigs because it was fun. And then when we started thinking about maybe making a first real album, which became Inverted Cross, then of course they were like, open to whatever. I mean, for that album, Johnny had pretty much all of the ideas already written. I mean, the core parts, I added my touch here and there and some solo sections and some riffs maybe here and there, but that first album was pretty much Johnny. But they've always been, I mean, and you have to sort of course, respect the style. I mean, I wouldn't come in and start writing death metal stuff or power metal stuff, I mean, I know what Sorcerer is supposed to sound like, so I have to sort of abide by that. But then again, Fire King is definitely a progression from Inverted Cross, and as this one is from the last one. So you start somewhere, and then you can hopefully together build, outwards in whatever direction you feel like you should be going.
Definitely. Being a guitarist, do you like have a theoretical background? Like I'm working off of this scale and this mode and this key, or are you like more self-taught and like kind of improvise with your guitar playing in a way?
I mean, I'm definitely schooled. I as soon as I started playing guitar, I mean, I hooked up with a teacher because I wanted, a expressway into learning as much as possible, as fast as possible. I didn't want to, take a chance on like learning shit wrong and stuff. I was like, I need to find a good teacher who can show me, go this way, and then, and then I went to MI in Hollywood, for a couple of years and studied there. So I definitely know what I'm doing, but at the same time, I'm all for improvising and going with your gut and not thinking about theory. I mean, when I write, I don't think about that stuff at all. It's just going by sound. But then when you want, say you laying down a solo or a melody or something, then of course, what could work here? What do I hear? And those names are just names of stuff I know the sounds of in my head. So okay, this sounds like Phrygian dominant. This should be Phrygian dominant, and in my head, I know what it sounds like. It sounds like Yngwie, or there's the Lydian scale. Yeah, that sounds like Steve Vai or Satriani. Certain songs they've done.
Yeah.
So we come from that part.
I'm impressed, all those scale modes. Like I've like kind of caught guitar players on the spot one time. I'm like, name all those modes, and they're just like, I forgot.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is also, I'm a guitar teacher by trade. I teach guitar, that's my work. So that stuff is pretty fresh in my head, you know.
Oh.
But I'm interested in that stuff. Not like to the point where it sort of, you know, dictates exactly what I play, but I just like to know what I'm doing because, first of all, it helps communicating with others. You know, if we talk in the band, you know, on this section, can you think maybe a little bit more like this? You know, it's easier to just put names on it, and then like I said, I'm teaching, so I have to be able to explain stuff to my students. You know, otherwise I'd be a poor teacher.
Does teaching guitar maybe also teach you new things and how to bring into your projects as well?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. I've got some really talented students who just play stuff, and it's like, fuck, okay, I'm learning for sure, you know, and maybe not learning as much like they play new music for me. That's one thing, you know. Have you heard this band? Have you heard this band? And probably not, you know. I've discovered so much new stuff from them, but also they're inspiring me in that they practice a lot, and that they are really like when I started, you know, when I was like 17, 18, I was like practicing all the time, and these guys are practicing all the time, and I'm like, shit, man, I gotta catch up, you know. I need to get my focus back together, you know.
Yeah, maybe they'll take your place in Sorcerer. I'm kidding.
Who knows? Some of them are definitely good enough, I would say.
Yeah. And I know that you've also played with a lot of other projects outside of Sorcerer, such as Therion and Demonoid and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, is there like, I like asking people who have been in multiple projects, is there like a universal art that applies to every project that you're in, or is it almost kind of like you're in a new band, you are in a different project, it's almost like a different mind frame altogether?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, I mean, the music is what it is, pretty much. I mean, you know, when you come into a project, or if you start a new one with yourself, you know, then you have a sort of a picture of how it should sound, and I think the biggest change is like the relationship between people, you know, the working relationship you have with someone, you know. For instance, when I was in Therion, I mean, the relationship I had with Christopher Johnson is different from the ones I have with the guys in Therion and the guys in Sorcerer, and when I was playing with the Snowy Shaw, for instance, it's a different dynamic. It depends, you know, what the deal is, you know. And in Sorcerer, it's a freer environment, you know, because I mean, we're all our own band, you know. We take decisions together and write music together. And with Therion, it was definitely Christopher's band, you know, and that was totally fine. I mean, I was absolutely 100% on board with that, and he was very generous in letting us write and contribute. But it was still, you know, okay, we write sort of for him to say like, okay, we use this one and we don't use that, you know. Mm-hmm. So I would say that's the main thing, you know, and again, like, of course, respecting the band you're in. I mean, I wouldn't bring a punk song to Therion, you know. That wouldn't be not very good, I think.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's one way to make sure people don't forget it. You make an album that stands out so much, and then people will never forget it.
That's true.
People still talk about Saint Anger.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ready for the most difficult question of the whole interview?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you have a song like Lamenting the Innocent that's just under 9 minutes long, but then on the new album, then you have a song like Deliverance that's 5.5 minutes long, and then a song like Path to Perdition that's 8 minutes long. How do you know when a song is done?
I think, it's never really been a problem, I would say. I think you always know when stuff is, you know, right, you know. I think, let's see, if I write something, I know that I want to hear certain parts in that song. I know that if I hear a song, I think, oh, I'm missing a solo here, or the ending needs to be longer because it needs to build, or this part is cool, but it needs a cool intro, you know. It takes a long time, but I think after a while, you know, you discover those things that those things come natural. At least for me, I never had that problem, I think. Then of course you can always discuss with your bandmates, and they say like, hey, this part is boring, we should cut that out, or that part is cool, like let's make that longer. And then sometimes the arrangements change, but it's not like, I get bored easily myself. I don't want the song to drag on for like 17 minutes. That would be, I know our songs are long and probably people get bored shitless from them sometimes, but I think well, it was a difficult question actually.
I get them every time.
Yeah. It's a really great question. I think I've said it all I can say. I'm not sure I have a great answer for this one actually, but I would still say whatever comes natural. I think it comes natural for me.
Yeah. Well, hey, at least you didn't give me the typical, oh, you just have to abandon it. Like, I'm getting so bored with that answer.
What? Which answer?
Most of the people usually say, oh, you just have to abandon it. A song is never finished. It's only abandoned. I'm like, come on, that's so easy. That's such a default question.
Okay, nah.
I have 2 more questions for you, if that's okay.
Yeah, man, go for it.
When it comes to playing live, because it's one thing to be a great guitarist in the studio and and you're in a practice space, you're kind of in your own environment or whatever, but when it comes to playing live and there's crowd interaction involved and stage lighting and all that, is it almost kind of like a completely different game playing guitar live in front of an audience versus like more in solidarity?
It is, for sure. I happen to love playing in front of an audience. It's the most fun thing ever, and I love it so much because you get the energy from the crowd, and of course you can have maybe not so enthusiastic crowds, and then maybe the gig is not so fun, or if it's like 2 people in the audience, I'll be in there, But if it's a good evening, the band is on, and the audience is on, and everything, it sounds great, it's the best feeling in the world. But it's very, of course, it's very different. You have to make a show. You have to sort of be the rock star. You can't stand there and be introverted. Well, some people can, of course. I'm just talking for me.
Yeah.
You have to put on a show. Rock out and look happy and look like you belong up there.
Yeah.
And in the studio, no one sees you. You can just sit there and look miserable or concentrated or whatever you want to, whatever you do, and make sure you nail all those notes. Live. Sometimes we play badly because we have the guitar somewhere else than right where it feels comfortable. You swing it around and pose and try to look cool, and while you sound bad, but it happens. It's that's just the way it works,
Yeah, so you almost kind of have to, in a way, like practice like choreography in a way. Is it almost like practicing for a show, almost kind of like rehearsing for a play in a way?
I would say so. Yeah, especially for us. We have the playing is what it is, But then you have the singing cues. You have to nail your singing stuff, the choirs, whatever you want to do, and then changing guitar patches, clean sound here, solo sound here. It becomes like a dance. Like you say, rehearsing for a play, you have to really know where to step on stuff. And now you got a minute. You can go to the other side of the stage, and hang out with the other guitar player or whatever. For sure, that needs to be rehearsed. Absolutely.
Definitely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I hope everybody is safe during this pandemic of a virus that shall not be named. Is there just anything with Sorcerer that you would like to promote? The new album is scheduled to come out May 29th, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Is there just anything else that you would like to promote that's not at the risk of getting canceled at the moment?
Oh, shit. I think everything. We have a couple of gigs, in Europe, which are probably going to get canceled, I think. And it is what it is for everybody. We're just sitting here, waiting, playing the waiting game, see what's going to happen. I heard today that maybe there won't be any concerts until next fall, 2021.
Yeah, knocking on wood, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's like, whoa, okay, yeah, we'll see. But other than that, just look out for the album. If you're into, kind of slow but very melodic and, lots of guitars and great singing, check out Sorcerer for sure.
Yeah, and I'd imagine we have plenty of time now. You could start writing the next one.
Yeah, I guess we do. I don't really want to start thinking about the next one just yet.
Yeah.
I think if we're going to do anything besides playing live, I think we're going to try to maybe do some covers.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
We've been thinking about it, for quite a while, but we haven't really had the time to do it. But I guess now all we have is time, so it would be a fun thing to do. And I also have another project which is outside the Sorcerer, but which is a bit heavier, but probably going to try to go into the studio with that. But for Sorcerer, yeah, prior to number one, getting a record out, hopefully gigging sometime this year. Otherwise, yeah, let's see what happens.
Very good. But thank you so much, Kristian. Everybody, we are here with Sorcerer, Lamenting of the Innocent, out May 29th, out on Metal Blade Records. Be sure to pick it up then when supplies officially last forever. And we will see you next time in the quarantine zone on Heavy New York.